The NBA made a huge mistake letting this happen. Everybody's talking about the Thunder going to the NBA Finals out of the West.
As the alpha that I am, I'm also not afraid to fall in line. I'm going to follow Jimmy Butler. I'm going to follow Steph Curry. And we're going to follow those two guys right to a championship.
17 points. That's how much Miami led by before everything unraveled again. They had control of the game, dominating Charlotte, looking like they were about to cruise to an easy win. But then the fourth quarter arrived, and just like that, the lead evaporated. The defense collapsed, the offense stalled, and Charlotte took over. Miles Bridges buried a three, and suddenly, the Heat were scrambling. They ran a play for Tyler Herro, he missed. Bam Adebayo had a chance to clean it up, another miss. Just like that, the game slipped away. While Miami was choking away a massive lead against one of the worst teams in the league, Jimmy Butler's Warriors were steamrolling that same team by 36 points. Miami has now become the worst fourth quarter team in the NBA, outscored by 82 points in the final quarter this season. They've blown 15 leads and showed no signs of fixing the issue. This isn't just a rough stretch, it's a total meltdown. The real problem runs deeper than just a few bad games. The Heat don't just lose, they self-destruct. Every time they get a lead, they play as if they know what's coming. The Chicago game was another example. Miami had full control through 3 quarters, but when the pressure mounted, they crumbled. The Bulls got whatever they wanted offensively while Miami could barely get a clean shot. They went 1 for 11 from 3 in the fourth quarter with Herro and Duncan Robinson missing open looks. This isn't just bad luck. It's a team that no longer believes it can finish games. Terry Rozier was supposed to help fix that problem. When Miami acquired him at the trade deadline, he was averaging 23 points per game, playing some of the best basketball of his career. But since putting on a Heat jersey, he looks lost. Against Cleveland, he shot 0 for 8 in the second half with 3 brutal turnovers. This was the same player who once went toe-to-toe with Jalen Brunson in a playoff series, but now he looks like a completely different player. It's not just his shooting, his decision-making, his confidence, everything seems to have collapsed since arriving in Miami. Meanwhile, Butler has completely changed Golden State's season. Since joining the Warriors, they've gone 13-2 with 8 of those wins coming by double digits. He didn't just bring scoring, he brought toughness, leadership, and stability. He lifted pressure off Steph Curry and elevated the role players around him. The Warriors were barely surviving before the trade, and now they look like one of the most dangerous teams in the league. The contrast is impossible to ignore. Butler was Miami's culture. He was the identity of the team. And without him, they've been exposed. In a desperate attempt to justify their decline, Miami has started leaking negative stories about Butler. Reports claim that the organization was actually relieved to move on, that Butler was an unstable ingredient. The idea that they just used him to make finals runs and then cast him aside is a complete rewriting of history. This was a player who dragged Miami to 2 NBA finals, turned them into a feared playoff team, and created a winning identity. Now, they're acting like he was just a temporary piece they didn't really need. It's the same tactic Dallas pulled with Luka Doncic: shift the blame onto the superstar when things start falling apart. But this isn't fooling anyone. Even if Miami wanted to move on, the path ahead looks bleak. Some believe tanking is the answer, securing a high draft pick and starting fresh. But the reality is much riskier. The Heat have a 99.4% chance of landing a top 4 pick, but only a 2% shot at the number 1 selection. Banking the future of the franchise on such slim odds is a dangerous gamble, especially given what's at stake. If they miss the playoffs, they keep this year's pick, but it triggers a nightmare scenario. They would owe unprotected first-round picks to Oklahoma City in 2026 and Charlotte in 2028. That means tanking now could strip them of key future assets, making it even harder to rebuild. On the other hand, making the playoffs helps them avoid these penalties, but it still leaves them stuck with a flawed roster and no clear path to contention. No matter which route they take, the risks are massive. Miami is running out of options, and with each passing game, their future becomes more uncertain. With no clear rebuilding plan, the only way back to contention is through the trade market, but even that is a mess. Kevin Durant has hinted at being open to Miami, and trade scenarios have been floated where the Heat would send Andrew Wiggins, Jaime Jaquez, a first-round pick, and Duncan Robinson to bring Durant in. On the surface, it sounds like a game changer. Durant is still one of the best scorers in the league, and adding him to a team that already has Bam Adebayo and Tyler Herro would seem like an easy fix. But there's a problem. Durant has never been a leader. This is the same player who openly admits he just wants to hoop and doesn't see himself as the kind of guy who builds a team culture. Butler was the heart and soul of the Heat. He was the leader who set the standard, demanded more from his teammates, and carried them in the biggest moments. Durant, for all his talent, has never been that type of player. Would his arrival actually fix Miami's mental toughness issues, or would it make things even worse? Other names have been floated around like Zion Williamson and Trae Young, but neither feels like a surefire solution. Miami has always been a destination for big-name stars, but they are running out of options. One intriguing name, though, is Anthony Edwards. After the All-Star break, Edwards had every option for training. He could have gone to LA, Vegas, or New York. Instead, he flew to Miami, and not just Miami, but the Heat's practice facility. If that wasn't enough to get people talking, fans also noticed a Bam Adebayo jersey hanging in his locker. Edwards and Bam played together on Team USA, they won a gold medal together, and they have a strong relationship. Right now, Edwards is locked into a contract with Minnesota, and there's no immediate way for the Heat to get him. But the fact that he chose to spend time in Miami, working out in their facilities, isn't something that should be ignored. It could mean nothing, or it could be the early signs of a long-term move. Given how badly Miami needs a new face of the franchise, the speculation alone shows just how desperate things have become. The Miami Heat didn't just lose a player when they traded Jimmy Butler, they lost their backbone. What once was a team built on grit, resilience, and the ability to close out tough games has turned into a roster that collapses under pressure. The fourth quarter failures, the mental breakdowns, and the desperation for a new superstar all point to one thing. They underestimated just how much Butler held this team together. Now, they're stuck. Every path forward comes with risk. If they chase a superstar, they could end up with another player who doesn't fit the culture Butler once defined. If they tank, they risk throwing away years of their future for a draft pick that might not change anything. No matter what they do next, the damage has already been done. So, what happens now? Is there a way for Miami to rebuild its identity, or have they already fallen too far? Let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the biggest NBA stories.